Welcome to Uncut. On today's episode, we have an author directly from Wigan. Alex Winstanley is the author for the new kids book, My Grandma Has Dementia. Also, Alex is the co-founder of a wonderful organization, is the Happy Smiles. Please, Alex, tell me about you.
Yeah, hi Lucia, thank you. Thank you for having me on the Uncut podcast as well. I'm very excited about it and really appreciate it. So thank you. And so I'm from Wigan in the northwest of England, and I'm a former teacher. And I used to teach physical education, but also was a special educational needs coordinator as well. And as well as being a teacher, I've been a part-time carer for around 9 years. So I've been involved with that sort of work for a long time. And I've always been very passionate about supporting inclusion and diversity of all sorts of different people. So that's something that I'm very, very passionate about. And my work as a carer sort of drove me into seeing the experiences of disabled people every day, and how disabled people are often isolated or treated in different ways. And I really wanted to change that. So that's where Happy Smiles came along, and I left my job 2 years ago to set up Happy Smiles. And that involves delivering awareness and inclusion training to schools, community groups, businesses, from children through to adults. And all of our training is led by young disabled adults who have experienced lived experience of disability every day. So I set that up inspired by Hayden, who's one of the young men that I cared for, and is a good friend of mine. So that's what we do at Happy Smiles Training, CIC, and that's where sort of some of the ideas for the book came, because we weren't being able to, because of COVID, we weren't able to get into some schools. We weren't able to get into any schools anymore. So I had a little bit more time, and I wanted to try and still reach children and young people, and that's where the idea for the book series came. So and I'd always wanted to write a book about my grandma having dementia. So it just both things work together, and now we're using the book to do some reading projects through Happy Smiles as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, it all works together, as you
Yeah.
told me. And this is a very important subject, inclusion. Yeah. So Happy Smiles is dedicated to promote inclusion and diversity. And tell me, how did Happy Smiles start?
Yeah. So I mean, the name came from Hayden, who I cared for, spent nearly a year in hospital in 2017. And during that time, I asked members of the public to just send in photos of their happy smiles on Facebook to keep him happy, because he was in hospital and all he had was his iPad. So he was looking for his iPad, and he just wanted to see smiling faces. So this name, Happy Smiles, just stuck. And then we started to do some videos of how Hayden communicates, what he likes to do. And that got a lot of responses and feedback and reviews and likes and comments and shares and engagement. And then we started to do videos with other different disabled people as well, to share different people's stories. And again, it got lots of positive reviews. So I started to do some work with Hayden in my school, delivering assemblies and talks with the children. And those children were 11 to 16 years old. But some of them had never had the opportunity to speak to a disabled person, to someone with additional or complex needs before. And this was a really good opportunity, and the kids loved learning about disability and inclusion from Hayden, who rather than learning about it from me, who's a non-disabled person, learning about it from a disabled person is something that I'm very passionate about. So that was great. And I had parents calling saying, my son or daughter came home and they loved listening to you and Hayden, and they loved that Hayden came in and spoke, and they thought it was amazing. And then it just kept rolled on from there. We started to do part-time work in community groups after school, after I'd finished work. And then 2019, April 2019 or May 2019 is when I left my job to take Happy Smiles full time. So yeah, now there's myself and three young disabled adults who deliver our training, which is great, and we've been doing that, yeah, like I say, full time ever since. And obviously impacted by COVID last year, but managed to move all of our work online, and now we've been able to speak to people from around the world, which has been amazing, like yourself, Lucia, and we've also been nominated for two national awards as well for our work, which is awesome. So hopefully we can continue impacting as many people as possible, and delivering that training, and working with as many different people as possible.
Wow, congratulations, Alex. Congratulations, because this is so beautiful. And like you, I am also a inclusion advocate, and your cause is my cause as well. And this is very rewarding. At the end of the day, I believe you feel so happy because you are helping people and spreading uh, inclusion and diversity to the world.
Yeah.
And you told me you have a team who are 4 people. Yeah,
Yeah.
you and more 3 people. You have, it's Alex, Hayden, and
Ellie and Kurt as well.
And you give workshops online.
Yeah, so we deliver, obviously because of COVID, we've just been having to deliver everything online. We're just having a new website built as well, which is really exciting. So that's nearly finished. That's going to be hopefully finished next week, and out online. Yeah, we deliver training across a range of topics, like for example resilience, working on resilience with children, looking at learning about diversity and tolerance and inclusion in schools, looking at working with community groups on and things like inclusive sports sessions. We can deliver that. Obviously that's the only one that we can't deliver online, but everything else we deliver online. We'll work with staff in organizations who might work with children or young people with disabilities, and we'll look at positive risk management, so how they can empower young people they're working with to reach their potential in a safe way. So that's something else, because I'm really passionate about making sure that disabled people are seen for what they can do, and are really have their abilities valued and reach their potential through their abilities. So Hayden, for example, has quite a limited vocabulary, but that doesn't stop him from speaking in front of hundreds of people. He can use an iPad to help him with communication, and he understands everything that you're saying, but sometimes people don't understand what he's saying, and it just needs a little bit of patience and support. And that's what we really wanted to get across. I got sick of seeing Hayden going to the same place time and time again, paying money to go to the same place every day and not really go anywhere. And I wanted to set up Happy Smiles so that he had the opportunity to show his potential, and other people had the opportunity to do the same. And yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, and as a physical therapist, I've been working also with special needs kids, and I see that people think that inclusion it's simply putting a kid with a special teacher, getting some help. But like what I saw is that these kids are in the back seat of the class. They stay there. Of course, it's very good to have someone helping them, but in the end, they do not interact with anyone else. They don't interact with other kids, with teachers, and also with other parents. So, in my opinion, inclusion is when you invite someone to your house and you receive as a family. And sometimes people only think that inviting is important. You have to give the tools for that person feels comfortable.
I agree.
So what is your idea about inclusion?
That's a great question. I remember I did a master's in education a few years ago around and the topic was about the impact on somebody's social development if they've been to a what we would call in the UK a mainstream school or a special needs setting, a special needs school, where you're more segregated away from sort of mainstream children. And it was a really interesting study. And I firmly believe that in an ideal world, everybody should be included in the same space. I'm a big believer in the social model of disability, so not the medical model which says that people with disabilities should be fixed. I believe it's actually society that should change their attitudes, and spaces should be changed to make it accessible universally for everybody with a range of different impairments or disabilities. And my ideal idea of inclusion is that everybody, for example, children and young people, disabled and non-disabled children, would go to the same school, would need different levels of support, but would be in the same classrooms. Together, that is inclusion versus what I believe is integration, is what you're talking about, Lucia, is when a disabled child with special educational needs is put in a classroom or at the back of the room or wherever, and just kept there all day. And just because they're on the same school site, but not actually included, Ellie and Kurt and Hayden all talk about how some of them went to mainstream. Ellie and Kurt both went to mainstream schools, but were never allowed to mix with other students. They had to stay in one room all day, and they weren't allowed out at lunch times, like recess, break times, in case they got hit by a football or a soccer ball or whatever. Things like that. That's not true inclusion for me. So true inclusion, like I say, would be everyone together with different levels of support if needed, learning from each other. And I genuinely, passionately believe that disabled and non-disabled people can learn from each other in those environments.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Why did you write this book?
So I'd wanted to write a book for a long time about my grandma having dementia. So my grandma lived with dementia, with a dementia diagnosis for just over 10 years of her life, but definitely had dementia before then and was showing the signs and symptoms. And when I was growing up, I sort of sometimes wondered, why was my grandma taking certain medication every day? Or, why was she forgetting things sometimes? Why was she repeating the same questions? And I wanted to try and teach children and young people how to cope with some of those things and be aware that, if a grandparent or a parent or an adult in the family is developing these symptoms, then I wanted to try and help children and young people to be ready for that and to expect some of those symptoms and signs, and also to comfort them, to show them that just because somebody has dementia, no matter what form of dementia it is, that they're still a person. There's a person behind the dementia. The dementia is almost a mask that changes the behavior or the way they come across, or the actions or the movement or the speech maybe, but it doesn't affect them as a person. They're still a person who should be loved and loves you as well. And my grandma and I had a very close relationship my whole life, and very loving. And I wanted to get that across in the book, that my grandma has dementia, but uh, she still loves me. I love her, and she's wonderful. She's a wonderful person. So that's really what I wanted to try and show children and young people.
What's your favorite memory with your grandmother?
Oh, wow, that's a really tough question. In terms of a favorite memory, I think it talks about it in the book, but one of my favorite things that I just think back to my grandma's is when I was growing up, my sister and I would spend a lot of time with my grandma, and it would just be messing up the house, making a mess, playing games, baking cakes, playing in the garden when it was sunny, which isn't always in England, but sometimes it is. But just having a great time. We felt really safe and loved, and we just had a great time making a mess. She didn't care. She would let us just mess up the house, and she would, we would tidy it up and stuff. And she was the best. So that's probably my favorite memories, just growing up, having those experiences.
So, Alex, kids tend to be left out when we have family problems. Like sometimes a disease or when someone dies. For example, my godfather, he had a stroke and I saw the changes, but nobody never told me about it. And sometimes I ask them, why is he not moving properly? And when he died, they told me, your godfather is in the sky. And I didn't understand, like, why he was here. I prefer he stays here with me instead of being in the sky. And then was the first time I heard the word died.
Right.
He died, but he died and he's in the sky. So for me, like, was something I didn't know I was going to die. I was little, like 7 years old.
Yeah.
I understood it, like, because I told my friends in the school and they told me.
Yeah.
So do you think there is a lack of information for kids, and that's why you wrote this book?
Yeah, I think that you're exactly right. That I do believe that children from a young age should be told about these different health conditions that might lead to death, some quicker than others, and that impact people in different ways. And that's why I've written this. I'm going to be doing future books about other conditions, but I really think that children should be aware of these in a positive and supportive way. So, I'm also a passionate believer that you should involve the children in people's lives. So even if someone's living with dementia, for example, that doesn't mean you should shield them away from the child or the children. My mum cared for my grandma every day for the entirety of my life. So nearly 30 years, my mum was my grandma's primary carer. And a lot of the time as I grew up, I would be saying, do you want some help? And she never wanted help. She just wanted to do everything herself. And, I could see the stress that had on my mum. And that then brings stress on our family as well, because I'm worried about her. We're worried about my mum. And yeah, there's a knock-on effect. So I think if you can involve children in a positive and a supportive way to be aware of different conditions like dementia from an early age and understand it as much as possible, then yeah, I think it can only do good things. It can only be positive, and I think it'll help the children as they grow up to understand differences and disabilities and health conditions. So I really do believe that you know there should be more out there for children and young people to be supported, because children have a lot of anxieties now. Young people have a lot of mental health and mental well-being anxieties or issues, especially with COVID. That's just another issue for people to worry about. So people are gonna worry. Children are gonna worry. Like you say, you was asking about your godfather, and you ask those questions. Children ask questions, and I think this book and future books that I'm working on are just those conversation starters, so that children can start to talk about these conditions. Well, why is that person impacted in that way? Why are they acting that way? Why is the speech or the mannerisms changed? Or why has someone passed away? Why have they died? I think it's really good. Children are just naturally curious, so I think we should have those discussions, and that's where these books are going to hopefully start those discussions.
Alex, how are the kids reacting to your book?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. I've had people sending me photos from children. The book is aimed at children from around 4 years old to 10 years old, which is around primary school age in the UK, in England. But at the same time, I've had people sending me photos and videos of children who are 2 years old reading the book, all the way through. Yeah, yeah, like looking through the book with the parents or the grandparents, which is amazing. So yeah, which is very, very exciting. I mean, I wish I could show you them now, but yeah, there's some brilliant pictures all the way up to, you know, I had a family send me a picture from San Francisco last week of two young women who are 13 years old. and they were reading the book, and that's, you know, that's amazing. So I think no matter the age, I think you can take something from the books, but
Mhm.
they're aimed at 4 to 10 years old, and yeah, having some fantastic comments, like, you know, people saying, oh my gosh, like I tried to explain that somebody put a post on Facebook saying, I've never been able to explain why my dad has dementia to my 4-year-old son, and I'm trying to say, you know, why his granddad is acting differently, and why he has dementia and what that means. But now I have this book and it explains it perfectly. And she said, when I first read the book with Alfie, that's the little boy's name. She said Alfie was 4, and she said he stopped when he was reading it halfway through, and started to cry. And she said she thinks it's maybe because he was missing his granddad, because he's not seen him because of COVID. And but she said he was starting to understand some of the reasons why, you know, his granddad was acting in different ways. And she said they've read it every day since, which is amazing. So yeah, when you hear things like that, it's just, yeah, it doesn't make, the book doesn't make hardly any money, and all the money from the book goes to Happy Smiles, being a non-profit organization. But it's not, you know, it's about that awareness and making those experiences happen. And when people get in touch and tell me those things, it's just incredible, because it's also my grandma's legacy, and, you know, my grandma's making that happen through the book. So it's amazing.
I I understand you, because this is the most beautiful thing that we
Yeah,
do for others. And like you told me that you are going to write more books, and we need more books from you, Alex.
yeah.
So tell me a little bit about it. What are the subjects are you going to write? For example, some other diseases or disabilities?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to be writing 5 more books this year, and all about different long-term health conditions that are mainly associated in adults, so that when children and young people maybe come across that with a member of their family, then, you know, that helps them to understand it better. And the next condition that is going to be coming out, hopefully the book will be ready for April, and that is about depression. So that's going to be called My Uncle Has Depression. And yeah, that's going to be based on a a man having depression, and going through that, and uh, niece that is understanding that, and helping their uncle to get through it. So um, it's I'm really excited about that one. That one's pretty much ready to go, and I can't wait to see. You mentioned Adam before about the illustrations; he's amazing. So I think it's going to be a real challenge to make depression accessible for children. Because Adam's illustrations, as people will see when they buy the book, are incredible. They're colourful. Um, they're amazing. They tell a story on their own, and to be able to do that with depression is going to be quite difficult, because you know, it's not a happy subject to talk about. Not many of these conditions are, and that's what I want to do, is to try to get people talking about these sort of taboo subjects that people don't like to talk about. And depression is something that especially males don't like to talk about, and hopefully this book is going to make that difference. So it's ready to go. It's ready to be worked on, and in terms of the illustrations, and we've got all the ideas ready, and it's going to be hopefully out in a couple of months, which is very, very exciting. And then following that, you know, because all the books are written inspired by people with lived experience. So I've been speaking to people, for example, with dementia, families of people living with dementia, my own experiences with my grandma, to write this book. The same with the depression book. I've spoke to people, sports people, and different people about who have experienced depression, and it's really emotional to hear those conversations, and really interesting as well to hear what people go through. And the same with all the other conditions that I'll write about. I'll be involving people who have that lived experience. I'm very passionate about making sure that comes across and give that voice to people. So yeah, depression is the next book, and then I've written one inspired by my brother on cancer. I've written one on multiple sclerosis,
Not too.
as well. So that's just another couple to name. And then it's just seeing the next one's definitely going to be the depression book, which I'm very, very excited about.
So you have to come back to Uncut.
Yeah, hopefully.
Talk about the other books.
Well, I've just literally sent your book. My Grandma Has Dementia. I just sent you a copy today, so that'll hopefully be with you soon. And the other books, I'll make sure to get you a copy as well.
Thank you. And your book will be everywhere if it depends on me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spreading about the book.
Thank
And
you.
Alex, I have some words to tell you, and you tell me how you feel or what you feel when you listen to these words. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
So, education. What is education for you?
Wow, what a wonderful question. I think education is having a positive impact on somebody that stays with them, a positive impact that means that they learn something from that experience, that they take to positively impact their life, if that makes sense. So whether that's learning something in a classroom or learning a vocation that you can, maybe it's like building something. Yeah, it's all about learning something that you can positively use in your life.
Mm-hmm. Special needs.
Special needs. Yeah, it's a term that the word special for me in my culture is starting to. I don't like the word as much because to me special needs and separation come hand in hand. So people with special needs are often disabled people are often separated from society, and yeah, it's special is a word that I'm starting to dislike more and more.
Yeah, because we are all special. Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone is unique and different in their own ways, and I think special needs. I think it already implies to children that there's something wrong with somebody. That's
Yeah,
what I think. So
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. And the last question. I don't know, you have kids, Alex?
very very nearly. We got our first child in 3 weeks.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
So this is the question. Family. What do you
Mhm.
think about family?
Yeah. Great question. Family is extremely important to me. I'm very close with a lot of members of my family, and I think everyone should be as close as possible. But at the same time, family is what you make of it, and um, I don't always think that family is made by blood. Family is people that you love and who love you, and if you love people and they love you, and for example, Hayden, who I spoke about, Hayden's part of my family, and he has been for a long time. And his family are my family, and accept. You know what I mean? And that's family isn't just blood. It's love, and I think I think it's such a big thing. But yeah, I just believe that family. They say that you can't choose your family, but I do think that you can choose family. Like if you want to adopt someone into your family, then you should do that. So
Yes, and Hayden is the reason for Happy Smiles.
sure, yeah,
And
sure,
like I believe there is nothing like a smile to
yeah,
brighten your day.
yeah,
And it's very good that you had the chance to know him, and through him, good things started. Yeah, for
yeah,
all of
ex-
you. And
exactly.
yeah, and Alex, I'm so happy to have you here today,
Thank
and
you.
I will be uh, talking about you for everybody, all my patients, the
Thank you.
parents as well.
Yeah.
And please let us know, where can we find you?
Yeah, so on Facebook and Instagram, you can find me at Alex Winstanley Author. Um, on Twitter, it's at Alex W Author. And then as well, if you want to see the work that we do through Happy Smiles, on Facebook, Instagram, it's at Happy Smiles Training CIC. and on Twitter it's at Happy Smiles CIC. And the dementia book is out now on Amazon worldwide. So if you just go to Amazon, obviously in the UK it's .co.uk, but .com worldwide, and you type "My Grandma Has Dementia," you can see that there. I know there'll be links and stuff, but yeah, it's available on Amazon now. So yeah, please do check it out. And if you do buy the book, get in touch, tell me what you think. I'd love to hear it. Send me some pictures of yourself. If it's children reading it, anything, that would be wonderful. Especially from other countries, that would be amazing. And yeah, tell me what you think. Review the book as well. You know, the more people leave a review of the book, the more people will see it, and the more people that then impacts. So please do that.
So thank you very much, Alex, and good luck. Congratulations on your baby.
Thank you.
And I'll see you next time again at Uncut. Okay.
Thanks, Lucia.
Thank you.